And it's working, so it's good.
Okay, so imagine you're at a gun range with a friend. An accident occurs and your firearm discharges into your friend's arm. You are unable to stop the bleeding and you don't have much medical knowledge. You do know that a tourniquet would solve the problem, so you rip the bottom of your shirt off and tie it above the wound. As for your friend, you were luckily able to save their life, but unfortunately not their arm. Hello, I am Matthew Patrick, Garrett Patterson,
And Devin Saunders.
and we had our colleague Buck Martin. He was not able to join us today due to some health issues. But we are MAPS International Healthcare Solutions, and our product is AutoTourniquet. And our mission is to bring functionality, technology, and portability to a life-saving and time-tested idea. So our problem is that whenever you, like you said, whenever you put on a tourniquet, you can save a limb and save their life, but oftentimes that's not the case. Whenever people put on a tourniquet, typically they leave it on too long and they risk losing blood flow to that limb, and they can result in nerve damage or even the need for an amputation, as well as they can be very hard to apply. Our solution is AutoTourniquet. On AutoTourniquet, it will automatically measure your oxygen and your blood pressure and other vital signs, and it will make sure that it's not happening. Also, it is easy to use, and all it takes is the push of a button. So, as for our customers, our early adopters would consist of paramedics, and after our recent interview with the Air Methods crew at Union General Hospital, we learned that our product actually has a very big market among the people in that group. As our business begins to grow, we would make different models in order to help with hikers and eventually our long-term goal, which will be the U.S. military. Our competition consists of two different products, the AT4 electronic tourniquet system, which costs around $2,000, and the Lockhart Tactical Mat tourniquet, which costs around $37. And our UVP, our product would be cheaper, more portable, and easier to use than the electronic tourniquet, and it would also be more effective and easier to use than the MAC tourniquet.
So our market is calculated in three different categories. The total available market, which represents 100% of our available market, the serviceable addressable market, 15% of our available market, and our market share, which is 30% of our serviceable addressable market. Now our total available market, you can go to the next slide, represents the 50,000 ambulances plus the medical helicopters in the U.S., which would hold about 2 tourniquets each, which we found through our interviews, and our tourniquet would cost around $500. Our estimated revenue of our total available market is just under $50 million. Our serviceable addressable market, that represents the 100% of the 1,500 medevac helicopters plus the 6,000 ambulances in the U.S. if we would market to surrounding states, so the local ambulances, and that would represent the revenue of $7,500,000, just under that. Our market share, our main goal, especially from the beginning, would be, it represents the Air Methods company plus the local area ambulances in the Southeast region. So one thing we found is Air Methods, their company is based, they're a national company, but one thing we found is if you go to them, to their corporate, and you show them this product, they will give it to such as Union General, to test and to carry around with them, and then through that, they will buy your product if they find that it works. So, and we've heard of many products that they have had that, and it was successful for them. And so our market share estimated revenue is $2,249,000. So our financial model, you can go to the next slide. So this graph here shows the money we would make if we didn't have to buy anything, which of course that's not the case, and we are of course growing because we have a percent growth rate of 5%. The red bar that you see shows after the cost of buying the things that would go into our product, how much money we'd make. The next graph shows that, so the blue graph you see is how much money we're making. The red graph has taken out the cost to make, and then the green graph has the amount we'd make after taxes taken out. So that the So overall, what we'd make is below $2 million with still the percent growth rate of 5%. So our startup cost, so that total is under $17,000. We would think after this class, we would need to buy some resources to start up our company, such as computers for a company, which would be $5,000, the development of our product to where we can test it and to find the best model. First, we would start off with a first model that is specifically for EMCs and paramedics. And then our marketing, which would be $1,520, which is based off of business cards and a TV ad. Our year one expense is just around $400,000. That is our administrative cost, which would be for a lawyer, and for shipping. That would be, we'd need a lawyer, because we don't want any, for the product liability disclaimer. And so if anything happens while our product is in use and a person does end up losing a limb, we wouldn't be liable for that. And then shipping, we found that most of our shipping would be local. We'd start off in the local area at the beginning, and then we'd ship through UPS. We found as the cheapest. And then our selling cost is, at the beginning, we'd start local again. But then as we begin to grow, we would need a selling team, and that cost $335,000 is for a team of 4 salesmen.
Okay. And so this is just a picture I drew on the whiteboard. I'm not a great artist, but I hope you can kind of see what's going on. And this is how our tourniquet would be. We would have a plexiglass screen over top of a display screen. Underneath that, we would have a microcircuit and a CPU with a Bluetooth built-in chip, and that would control the whole thing. And underneath that, you would have the battery to power it, as well as a servo motor attached to a ratchet gear. Now this would all fit inside of a case, which would have, I don't know how you call that on the side, but it would allow the band to slip through it. And what it would do is the ratchet gear would connect to the things. Is that on the next slide? Yes, okay. The ratchet gear, would connect to it, and it would move the band and keep it tightened because it would not allow it to go in the reverse way. Now, for our tourniquet design, the plexiglass screen would end up costing 78 cents per tourniquet. The display screen would end up costing about $25 per tourniquet. The CPU and microcircuit would end up costing about $5 per tourniquet. The Bluetooth chip, 10. The lithium-ion 2-volt battery, 4. And the ratchet gear, about 4 as well. And that would give us a total of $48.78. We also have the cost of the band, which would be about $10, as well as the case, which would be about $2, as well as the servo motor, which we estimated to be about $100. We could not find an actual rate because we didn't know exactly what motor we would use, but we looked around and found an estimation of about $100 for that. As well as we would have the cost for expenses from the last page, and if you add that all together, you get roughly $160. And that gives us a small cushion if it costs more. Now for our MVP, we already have all the materials to make it, excluding the gear. It's ready for construction, and we'll be able to implement it as soon as the ratchet gear arrives. And so for the prototype of our MVP, we would have to order this VEX part, which would come with a ratchet gear, and that would cost $15. And at this time, we'd like to thank you guys for listening to us and ask if you had any questions.
You said that the product would take like your blood pressure and all that. So
Yeah.
what does that in that list of components? I mean, how does the monitoring work?
We think we were going to build it in like a piece of the case. We haven't included that into the actual design yet because that's going to be an advanced stage. So just for the prototype, we were just going to see if they could like restrict something and make sure it holds and it can release. And then we've got the CPU, so you just have to program it and then put something in like a monitor underneath it, and it would press up against it and then be able to determine that. Like, what would you call it? The blood pressure cuff at the doctor? Something like that.
Sure. Can you go back to the cost page? There was a...
Which one?
It had like 16 minutes.
That?
It was way back.
Oh, way back.
Yeah, it was a pie chart, one of your first
You want
ones.
to get
One of the pie charts?
Yeah. 16, yeah, you had it.
This one?
Yeah, 16,000, okay, I can
Yes.
see.
So
So let me tell you what you guys are just, I think flew by. And you have to have FDA approval, I would think, on this particular thing. That's years. Years. I would become very, very, very familiar. One, can you patent it? That's number one. I told you guys this when I talked to you. Number two, become familiar with the FDA approval process for medical devices. It is not a trivial exercise. So I love this idea. As a pure technologist, this is the coolest freaking idea ever, right? I told you guys that when I talked to you. And I'll tell you, Theranos, you guys ever heard of Theranos? So Theranos was a company that was started out of a young lady from Stanford, left Stanford, started a company, and she wanted to take a prick of blood and be able to do all this testing off of it, right? She collected a whole ton of money. And she did it and put a bunch of people in that didn't understand it. And the reason I'm mentioning this to you guys, because I love the idea. She had a brilliant idea. She just involved a bunch of people that were technologists, not FDA approval on how to get stuff through the FDA, and her company is now tanking, right? And she raised billions and billions and billions of dollars. What I would tell you guys is become very familiar with FDA processes. The second thing is, this is a license. You can license, I did a little research on this, I really like this idea. You can actually license your idea to somebody, and they'll take it to market, they'll do all the testing, and you guys get royalties off of it, right? Yeah. So I would tell you to look at that, because I think, one, to build the product, you can probably build the product in your 2 or 3 weeks, right, once you get the racks and stuff. But I think your total timeline to where you can actually get it to market, you're way, way off. Like, not in a ball game off, right? I mean, it's years. Medical trials and very specific ways you have to report data. And again, I'm not an FDA guy. I love this idea, I really do. I think you guys got to really become more familiar with kind of that FDA process.
Well, one thing we found through getting something in use, getting a product in use, is when we interviewed the Air Methods company, they actually had a product that was just brand new to the helicopter. It was a thing that could look down the throat and had a light, and it had a camera that could show the vital organs and in the throat area and everything in there. So, and they said the process that they know of for getting that product in use was that product, it was already being tested, and then they reached out to that company. And the company said, we'll test your product for you, and if you give us a couple of these, we'll put it on some of our helicopters, and then we'll let them use it and see how it goes from there. So it had testing through use. Like, it was on these helicopters and they had the option of using it.
But they got it to a certain point to be able to do that.
Yeah, you're right. There's a whole lot that went into that with the FDA before they even got to the testing.
Yeah.
Right. So just a few more things, right? You gave the example of the gun range, but then your target market had nothing to do with individuals that were at a gun range, right?
That's good.
So I like that you were trying to go with it. I might use a car wreck, right? Everybody's familiar with car wreck, you've been there, emergency personnel arrive, something of that nature, right? Just, and then.
And I had the TV ad thing.
Yeah, I had the marketing thing, right?
You're not gonna need a TV ad for this.
When
you go to the hikers or recreational people, boaters, or something, but that was way down your plan.
Okay.
Right, so you can back that out because you're gonna be going door to door on this.
And your expense is gonna be a lot higher than
Yeah,
that.
that and a medical convention type.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they have a show, you know, in every major city probably once a year that here's the latest device. And I think we talked about this, that, you know, it's almost like a pharmaceutical type sales model. You'll go to the hospital, this is what this thing can do. You know, do you want to buy? You'll talk to the purchasing agent of whoever you're talking to. So you're not advertising to the public.
Now, and 4 sales guys are gonna cost you a whole lot more money than $300,000 or whatever.
What was the idea behind Bluetooth?
Okay, we had thought about, at one point, somebody told us, maybe not the cuff to measure it, but to put something like on the finger to measure it. So that was another way.
I wondered if that's where you were going, because I was hoping you weren't gonna say you needed to whip out your phone in order to use this thing.
No, but that was just an idea, and we included that,
So like the O2 meter on a finger,
Exactly.
or put something on the lower part of the limb.
Something like that.
And then what do I do if I get there and the battery's dead? Stuff you guys gotta think about, right? I mean, I'm putting on I told you guys you probably got some kind of manual, but how do you replace the battery? when you're designing it right, things to think about. I gotta have to replace the battery or charge the battery, I gotta make sure the battery's charged up, whatever all those things are, right? I know things ride in ambulance all the time, so these problems have been tackled at some point. But just stuff, but I think your FDA thing is something you guys gotta become a little bit more familiar with.
Also with the Bluetooth, we also interviewed the Union General Hospital head of the paramedics there, and he said it would be nice if there was a model that could connect to their software to where it could be compared, and so they can keep track of all of the blood pressures and all the tension that.
So it's streaming the data out.
Yes.
Did they tell you who made that? Those other devices? So I
Or
mean,
would
I would try to go back and find out who manufactures that stuff. You know, I have a buddy that works for Stryker. They make, they sell, you're in a hospital, you'll see Stryker all over the place, right? I don't know if they sell stuff for ambulances. But that's another, you guys are gonna have to figure out how to integrate with all those technology-wise, right? Integrate that stuff. So I would find out who makes that
You,
stuff.
you quickly threw up the two competitors too, right? But you really didn't talk about, one was 2,000, one was 37 bucks.
Yes.
What do they do, what do they
Okay.
not do?
So-
Why is one so good? And what, just a little bit more on that next time?
Is that?
Because you said, we're gonna be cheaper and easier to use in this one and this, that, so, but there was no real meat to what they did and what they don't do.
The other thing is be careful about your end user telling you, I'd like it to do this and I'd like it to do that. You've got a core competency here in that it's a tourniquet. Make sure you've got that covered before you start adding other bells
Data
and
streaming and all
whistles.
that, to make sure the thing works, right? Awesome.
You don't stop the bleeding and it's still reporting all the data.
Yeah.
That's right at the end of the day, right? Not bleeding, bleeding. Not bleeding, bleeding. That's good. Check.
Anything else from anybody, guys?
Nice.
Great job.